Brief history of Mexican PRI hegemony, 1940 to 2000.
The party state was born from the ashes of revolution, promising a transition from violence to institutions. It was the dawn of the Mexican miracle, an era of rapid industrialization through import substitution. For 15 years, Mexico experienced stabilizing development, keeping inflation low while cities swelled. Labor was tightly co-opted. Union leaders known as Dinosaurs ensured workers stayed loyal to the regime. A new urban middle class emerged, viewing the PRI as the guarantor of their newfound prosperity. Beneath the surface, the miracle was uneven. Rural poverty remained a static reality, while the elite grew wealthy. The power transition was managed through the destape, the unveiling of the chosen candidate. The machinery relied on acarreo, trucking in masses to project an image of absolute popular support. Electoral alchemy ensured the party swept every office, a phenomenon known as the carro completo. Media control was absolute. The perfect dictatorship masked its grip with a democratic facade. By 1968, cracks in the system began to widen as students demanded true political pluralism. The era of unquestioned stability was about to end in a spray of gunfire. On October 2, 1968, the signals were sent to initiate Operación Galeana. The Batallón Olimpia, a secret paramilitary unit, opened fire on both students and regular soldiers against dissidents. Hundreds were killed or wounded in what became known as the Tlatelolco Massacre. The government sought to wash away the evidence, but the regime's legitimacy was permanently stained. The Dirty War followed, a systematic campaign of torture and forced disappearances against dissidents. Violence became the modus operandi for handling any threat to the political establishment. The dinosaurs of the PRI consolidated their grip, refusing to adapt to a changing society. Economic deterioration began as Mexico borrowed heavily to fund state services in the 1970s. The discovery of oil temporarily masked the rot, but the 1982 global price crash brought ruin. De la Madrid inherited a nation in an economic emergency, forced to implement harsh austerity. Cuts in government spending left infrastructure to rot, specifically hurting the working class and peasantry. In 1985, nature would expose what politics had tried to hide. On September 19, 1985, a magnitude 8.1 earthquake struck the heart of the capital. More than 10,000 died as the government's response proved sluggish and inadequate. Initially, the president rejected help to maintain a facade of national strength on the world stage. Faced with government failure, Mexicans took the city's recovery into their own hands. The rubble literally exposed the regime's secrets, revealing the bodies of disappeared prisoners. Corruption had spilled into private lives. Building codes had been ignored for fees, costing thousands of lives. Organizations formed to rebuild, operating like a parallel government with their own boards and commissions. Women found a powerful voice in the movement, providing the basic necessities the state could not. Public activities began to openly mock and challenge the official narrative of normalcy. The marginalized realized they carried power when they united, and they began looking for a political outlet. A democratizing current broke away from the ruling party, seeking to reclaim the revolution's ideals. The 1988 election was approaching, And for the first time in 70 years, the outcome was not certain. The PRI nominated a Harvard technocrat, hoping to maintain control through neoliberal reform. Cardenas emerged as a symbol for the poor, uniting leftist groups into a formidable coalition. On the right, Clouthier campaigned against the 24 hours of Televisa, accusing the media of hiding the truth. For the first time, independent surveys suggested the PRI was actually losing the capital. Violence escalated as the election neared, targeting those who sought to organize the opposition. The state-dominated media worked overtime to instruct the people on whom to elect. On July 6, 1988, Mexicans turned out in record numbers, acting collectively as the protagonists of change. Millions believed they were finally participating in a moment of democratic renewal. As the sun went down, early results confirmed the ruling party's worst nightmare. Then, the unthinkable happened. The counting system allegedly crashed. The infamous phrase, "se cayó el sistema," would become a byword for a massive electoral heist. When the screens came back on days later, the miracle of electoral alchemy had occurred. Salinas was declared the winner by the narrowest margin in PRI history, amidst shouts of fraud. The opposition cried out against the stolen election, but the military held the line. He took office under a cloud of illegitimacy, determined to reform the economy to save the system. He aggressively privatized state industries and integrated Mexico into the global market. To enter NAFTA, Salinas ended the revolutionary promise of agrarian reform, making indigenous farmers illegal squatters. On January 1, 1994, the day NAFTA began, the Zapatista Army, EZLN, declared war on the bad government. The uprising exposed the miserable conditions of millions who had not shared in the miracle. The new PRI candidate tried to distance himself from the party's corruption, demanding change. In a year of shocks, Colosio was assassinated on the campaign trail, shattering the PRI's internal discipline. Zedillo won the 1994 election, only to face the tequila crisis, a financial collapse that cost 7% of GDP. The San Andrés Accords were signed, promising rights to indigenous people, though the government would later ignore them. Under immense pressure, Zedillo allowed the creation of an independent electoral body. The end of alchemy was in sight. In 2000, a former Coca-Cola executive and Pan governor led a rollicking campaign for change. His message was simple: 7 decades of one-party rule was enough. The PRI campaigned on stability, but the public was weary of corruption and rising violence. The opposition remained divided, but the voter was now the true protagonist of the transition. This time, the system would not crash. The rules of the game had finally been leveled. Turnout reached nearly 64%, as citizens across the spectrum demanded a peaceful exit from autocracy. Fox made massive inroads into PRI bastions like Puebla and Veracruz. Zedillo chose to go down in history as a Democrat, rather than an enforcer of party unity. In a historic moment, the sitting president conceded defeat before the final count was even finished. After 71 years, the PRI's hold on the executive was finally broken. The transition was nonviolent, a testament to a society that had outgrown its rulers. The perfect dictatorship was over, and the long, difficult path to true democracy had begun.